Alright, hi guys, this is the second part of the video for your color worksheets. So in the video yesterday we talked, and in the lesson yesterday we talked about how to do your primary colors, secondary colors, warm and cool colors, and we also looked at triad colors and at complementary colors. So today we're going to talk about analogous colors, how to change and add value to your paintings, and how to change the intensity here on this third sheet. So, yesterday, we learned the triad colors are colors that form a triangle on your color wheel. So that would be colors like green, purple, and orange, and blue, red, and yellow. And complementary colors are colors that are right across from each other on the color wheel, like blue and orange, red and green, purple and yellow. So analogous colors are colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. Colors like, if we did on my color wheel here, if I chose to do orange, colors that are close to orange on the color wheel would be yellow orange and red orange, because they are right next to it. Or if I chose to do yellow green, as I could say that yellow and green are colors that are analogous with that. So you are asked, and I'm going to turn my camera here, you are asked to do some work with a primary color and its analogous colors and a secondary color and its analogous colors. So you can choose any color on your color wheel to do that with. I am going to choose yellow as my primary color that I'm going to do mine with. You are welcome to use red or blue, whichever one you want. I'm going to grab some yellow here, and I'm going to put my primary color in the middle so that I can remember what colors are on either side of it by putting them on either side of it. So I'm going to put that there. And then you could do this by mixing your colors. For mine, I'm just gonna do it by mixing my primary and secondary colors that are on my color palette already. So yellow, on one side of yellow I have yellow orange, so I'm gonna do some yellow. And then I'm gonna get my brush wet again, get the paint off of it. And then I'm gonna bring in some orange to that yellow. Make yellow orange, need a little bit more orange there. A little sad. So I've got kind of yellow orange. I'm going to get a little bit more orange on there. There we go. I've got a nice sunsetty yellow orange on mine. I'm going to rinse out my brush, and on the other side of yellow I have yellow green. So I'm going to get some yellow again. And I like to get that first bit that goes down fairly wet so that it stays wet while I'm getting my other color. So add a little bit more water to that. Otherwise, it runs the risk of drying out before you can get your other color, which in this case is going to be, maybe, it's going to be a little bit of green. I'm going to add that to my yellow there and make kind of a yellow-green. So my colors that are analogous here are yellow, yellow-green, and yellow-orange. But the color that I started out with is yellow, so that's what I'm going to write right here in my purple pen. Now you guys are supposed to do one with a secondary color, so I'm going to make sure all the paint is out of my brush. Right off of it, a little bit more water. And then I'm going to do a secondary color. For my secondary color, I'm going to do purple. So I'm going to put my purple in the middle. Pretty nice bright purple there. And then I have red purple and blue purple on either side. I'm going to start with the red purple since I already have some purple on my brush here. And once again, I'm just going to use the colors that are already available to me on my palette here. That, and then I'm going to get some red and add that into my purple. So I've got red, purple right there. And I got outside my circle a little bit, and that's okay. I get a little bit more purple for my red purple. It's looking a little bit pink right now. And and now it's a little bit too purple. It's kind of where you just have to play with it a little bit until it gets to be the color that you want it to be. There we go. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to pull that excess paint off to the side there. Clean off my brush, and on the other side I should have blue purple. Put my purple down again. I really like the purple in the set. It just comes across really nicely in every project that I've had to do so far. So I'm excited to see what it's going to do when we move into our bigger project there. I had too much blue. And now I'm paying a little bit the price for that because I let it sit for just a little bit too long. Now I need more purple to mix in with that blue there. Yeah, there we go. Purple, blue. That one's not going to be perfect because I missed that one a little bit, and that's okay. So my second set of analogous colors here I based on purple, which funnily enough my pen is also purple. Then what I'm going to do down here is value. So value is how light or how dark a color is. I know some of you guys have on your watercolor palette a lighter green or a lighter orange or lighter purple already. So in this case, I'm going to have you put in the true color that you want to start with. You can select any that you want. And then you're going to practice adding just white to that color, then just black to that color, and then just gray to that color to see how it changes the value of what you're working with. So my favorite color is purple, so I'm going to try that for the purple. So I'm going to go purple is my true color so that I have this painted over here so I know what it's kind of supposed to look like. I'm going to take some purple and I'm going to put it over here. Get a little bit outside the lines apparently. I'm going to get a little bit more water so I don't run into the problem I did with the last one so it doesn't dry out while I'm waiting. And then I'm going to get my color off here. I'm just now realizing I don't have white on my palette. So I can't actually do that one. I need a different color palette. If that you are in the same boat that I am, then that is okay. You can skip that one. If you do have white, I would like you to practice adding it in. So I'm going to do purple on this one then, and then I'm going to add black to it, which I do have on my color palette. I don't have gray either. If you don't have gray, you can do a mix of black and white, or you can just do a light or wash of black in with it. So here's adding black in there. Get rid of some water on my brush and add some more purple in too. So we get darker purple in with that one. And then I'm going to take very little bit of black and quite a bit of water to add gray to this. To make it a really gray color that I'm going to be adding my purple to rather than making it that black. Then I'm going to get quite a bit of purple paint on my brush because you do want to kind of be basing it primarily off of that true color that you started out with. And once it dries, I'll really be able to see how that affected the coloring of it. But that's what you're going to do for value. And you can practice mixing those a couple different ways. Your next sheet here is intensity. So intensity is the purity or strength of a color. So a color is always going to be brightest when it's in its purest state or when you haven't added other things to it. You can change the intensity of the color by changing its value. You can add white, black, and gray. Or, kind of like we did before, or you can also change its intensity by adding its complementary color or a triad color that goes with it. And if you don't quite remember what those were, you can look back at this guy. So I'm going to write what I'm going to do beneath it so I don't forget what I wanted to do, especially when I get to these triad colors. So I'm going to use my true color. I'm going to do blue. Then that means for complementary, I'm going to add orange to it. And then I'm going to mix those together when I get to this one. My true color down here, I'm going to do red. And then one of red's triad colors is yellow. And its other is blue. And then I will practice mixing red and yellow here and red and blue here to see what happens with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out making sure I have no extra paint in my brush. I do not. Get a little bit more water, and then I'm going to start with my blue. Nice, good, deep blue here. I'm going to rinse out my brush, and then actually while I have blue on my brush, I should go down here since I already have it, so I don't have to completely wash the paint off of my brush while I'm getting the blue for this part painted down. Oof, I need a little bit more paint there, a little bit less liquid. Oof, that is gonna just dry a little bit from there. That's okay. Really get some paint in there. There we go. So if you do end up with too light of a wash, you can sort of fix it as I did by adding more and more paint to it. I'm still going to have a bit of a darker mark there. Since this is just a practice sheet, I'm not going to keep trying to fix that one. If you want to, you can, but if I was actually painting a picture, I would want to try a little bit harder to get that darker spot to even out with everything else. And then I'm going to do orange right here because that's my complementary color to the blue that I just used. Get some nice bit of orange on here. I'm going to paint my orange on orange. And I don't need the orange anywhere else, so I am good to go for that one. I am going to add it over here with a little bit more water like I did up above to kind of keep that wet while I get my secondary color to add to it. Sorry, my complementary color to add to it. It will be the second color that I add to this batch, but it will be that. There we go. That worked beautifully. So you can see that that blue here is a very, very different kind of intensity or strength of a color than this blue right here. It's a lot more muted. It actually is a little bit closer to like what I would say a bluish green would be. And then you guys, I'm looking for a red. So I'm going to get my red here and paint it through. I'm going to rinse out, and then I'm going to get my yellow. Paint my yellow in this circle. A little bit more paint in there. Ooh. Paint my yellow in this circle. And then what I'm going to do is the same as what I did over there. I'm going to get some of that yellow, and I'm going to mix it over, put it over here, and I'm going to get it a little bit wet so that I have plenty of liquid on there for the next batch. Plenty of water, and then I'm going to get some of that red to add to it. I'm going to add that to the yellow that I had there and mix it while that's still wet right there. Otherwise it's not going to mix, it's going to kind of lay over the top like I had happen in some other parts. I think I'm actually going to add just a little bit more yellow to that. Not a lot, but a little bit. So it's not quite an orange, which is what I would get if I mix those two, but it is a lot darker or less intense shade of a red than what this was here. Actually, I think I made it a little bit too orange, sorry. And then I'm going to get some blue again. I'm going to add it to my red, and the thing is here, I don't actually want to make purple over here once I put red and blue together. I don't want to mix enough of it that I'm doing that. I really want it to be more of a reddish blue than I do want it to be that purple. Oof, that is a very dark purple. Very cool color, but not quite what I want. And that's where when you guys are painting something for a bigger project, you're going to want to mix it over here before you put it on your color palette, because it turns very purple. There we go. Got a little bit more red in there. I'm going to add just a little bit more. That's just going to stay a little bit purple too, and that's okay. There we go. It's edging back towards the red boundary. I'll be interested to see what it looks like when it dries. So that's what you guys are going to do for the intensity, is practice mixing the colors, but not so much that they become, if you use the primary, that they become a secondary color. So if you don't want that to happen, you could also practice mixing other triads of things like the secondary colors, you could try using their triad. That would be really interesting to see. That is what I have for this, you guys. I am going to make sure that my brush gets washed off in a second, and I got a little bit of paint on the edge of my tray. So what I'm going to do with my paper towel at the end is I'm going to kind of get in there with the edge of the paper towel and get in between and kind of see if I can't get some of that cleaned up there. So that over time my paint tray doesn't become a really big, really gross mess. I'll get some more of that in a second. And then as always, let your paints dry before you close the lid and put them away, because that is not good for your paints. Alright guys, that's what I have for today. So what I ended up with was a sheet that looks like this, and a sheet that looks like this. Yours might not look exactly like that, depending on what colors you choose to use for it. And that's where you can use your color wheel to kind of look and complete what you want to do. So happy painting, you guys. Your follow-up project, if you finish this today, and you can work on it tomorrow, is to use one of these color combinations that you've talked about in any of this. So you could use the primary colors, you could use secondary colors, warm, cool, you could use a triad, complementary colors, analogous colors, you could practice changing value, or you could practice changing intensity, and you get to go through. I want you to paint a painting of anything that you want, but I want you to only practice using a certain color scheme. So if you decide to use triad colors, you could choose to use purple, green, and orange, and those are the only colors that you're going to use in your painting to kind of highlight what you're doing. Or if you decide to use value, you could only use different light or dark versions of whatever color that you pick to go off of by adding black, white, or gray to it. If you have any questions, let me or Miss Laura know, and happy painting.